Our involvement in the Fort McMurray fires, the Beast as the fire chief called the event. Our involvement actually took place weeks before. As a professional, well-governed public company, we ascribe to a number of corporate governance principles, including having an emergency response plan. So all of our people went through that plan just a couple of weeks before, ironically, and we were quite well briefed in terms of exactly what to do in case of an emergency.
So the fire itself started on May 1st. As a typical part of regular operations throughout the summer, we have fires starting all the time, and so it's something that we constantly monitor, but it wasn't of significance until a little bit later. High winds, very high temperatures. The fire started to move, and by May 3rd was when we kind of realized it was something different. That's also when the evacuation of Fort McMurray began. At that point, we knew there was serious concerns, and we started to understand the sheer magnitude of this problem.
The day of the fires, one of the gravest concerns we had was obviously the safety of our people. As we go back to our core values within Horizon North, safety is at the very top. Integrity, in terms of the way we deal people, is very important. The nature of our customers, in terms of kind of how we treat them, in terms of how we're responsible with those individuals, is obviously important as well. And so as we went through that thought process, it was making sure that we could satisfy supply lines, making sure our people were safe, and to that effect started to talk to our my peer CEOs around the industry and talk a little bit about how we were going to manage this as a larger group.
Our site is north of Fort McMurray, and so that inevitably started leading to a trickle of people stopping in at the site. We quickly realized how many people were headed here, and we communicated with some radio stations to announce that and decided that we would accept evacuees. And that's when the trickle turned into a steady stream. At that point, we had hundreds of people starting to line up and show up at the doors looking for some kind of accommodations. The site itself felt secure from the fire. We didn't see too much danger from the fire at that point, but certainly we were starting to feel the impact of a tremendous number of guests arriving. Up to 1,250, I think, was where we kind of capped out.
Everything was about the safety and care of people. It wasn't about profit or revenue, loss of revenue. It was very much driven by kind of how do we make sure that we do our part as a community-spirited group. So with that, I started to kind of talk through how we were going to share consumables, how we were going to share sewer, water, and had a plan in place. As the fires started to increase in challenge, started talking to some of our other competitors and also had a conversation with them. And it's a unique circumstance that a group of individual companies that are public, that are profit motivated, were able to kind of collaborate on what was best for community, for safety, integrity, and customer.
By the 7th of May, we had cleared out all of the families, so about 5 days where we had families on site. By the 7th of May, we completed a full evacuation of the site, including all of our staff. The fires were not threatening the area at that time, but we did want to clear everyone out and get everyone a rest. The amount of stress that people were under, very well dealt with through the emergency, and the adrenaline was kind of rushing and pushing people along. After a certain period of adrenaline, you need a break from that, and some of the staff were starting to tire and fatigue. And so recognizing that, we did our best to make sure people were rotated in and out, and the site was cleared out about 5 days later. What we learned kind of first and foremost, we had a real live opportunity to test the theoretical ERP we'd been building over the last few years. So the ERP has had lots of planning in place. We've fine-tuned it on small events and small scales, and that's great. You get a chance to work that. This was an opportunity to truly test a real emergency, and that was a great learning to find out where our ERP was perfect and where our ERP needed a little bit of tweaking. An interesting challenge that we ran into very quickly on some of the evacuations was the communication channels. We have an organization that's geared to help, and we have an organization with people that are geared to jump in and assist in every way they possibly can. What we found was through an emergency, sometimes too many people helping can actually be the bigger challenge. And so you've got a site that has one line of communication on a phone in and 40 people trying to help that person 40 people trying to call that person, and it would kind of lock out and make that person busy dealing with offers to assist. What we implemented with our ERP was that all communications through one of these challenges is routed through the incident commander and incident commander only. So as soon as that notice is issued, that becomes the only person that is now communicating with that on site.
Very, very proud of the way that our people reacted and participated through this event. We obviously were in the eye of the storm, having lost one of our key assets as part of this. Got a tremendous sympathy and empathy for those in Fort McMurray that also suffered personal loss. And it isn't a function of the lost couch or the lost TV, but really the letter from a grandmother, a lock of hair from children, wedding pictures, tremendous sympathy for the loss. And the empathy that our people showed for caring for the individuals that suffered that loss really is central to our core values of safety, of integrity, of community mindedness, and customer response.